Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each week, we'll give you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I'm Benedikt, and I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed.
And I'm Benedicte. Today is April 11th. This is episode number 176, and I'm feeling joyful.
Woohoo! That's a good feeling.
It is. I was saying just before we started the actual recording here that, I think that was like 2 weeks before Easter. I had like, a mini breakdown where I was like, just crashed in at once. I'm like, nothing is going my way. Like, this is not happening. And then I ended up going to my friend's cabin. I was just like, I need to just peace out. And then now I feel like everything is going my way. Except that I do have like 4 jobs right now.
That sounds like a lot of jobs. What did you do? Why do you have 4 jobs now?
Why do I have so many jobs? So I just accepted a developer relations position at Outseta, which is the all-in-one membership software. Ooh. I'm not sure what our tagline is right now. I need to check that out. I think the current tagline is all-in-one membership software. That is big news, and somehow it doesn't feel like such big news. It feels like it, like a culmination of how it just should be.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. It just, it kind of feels like that. It feels like all my weird, like super weird side quests. I've done so many weird things. Like I had this like body appreciation project where we used Tumblr at one point. I created like crazy thing out of WordPress. I think we talked about that last time. Like I have this like audio guide project that was like WordPress back Jekyll site that rehydrated into an Angular site or whatever. Like I've done so many of those kind of crazy side quests or side projects, or I know, like, and for a lot of positions, like that's not a good thing. Like if you want like, a software developer who's like specialized, that would not be me. Like I specialized at Gatsby, the last years, but then for this position, it's like perfect because the people using Outseta, it's a combination of very non-technical people using no-code tools such as Webflow, or even Card, or you could put it on top of like a Notion, like SuperSo, or like a Feather, Feather, who we had on Slow and Steady at one point, the founder from there. Yeah. So you can put it like on top of these type of content sites, but you can also integrate with code. So you could, use more like a Jamstack types stack, and then you'd use Outseta for authentication and billing, and then potentially help desk and email if you need that as well. So kind of my like weird hodgepodge background that I've been a little like, sometimes I feel a little like, what, like, who am I? What do I actually do? It's like a perfect fit. So yeah. So there's like, things are going my way this year.
Or that's awesome.
Or this Easter.
So I mean,
I don't know.
I guess it was only a matter of time before you'd start a developer relations position.
I don't know why. Why would you say that?
Company or another. I mean, let's be honest. Like I mean, by now it's almost a year ago, but I feel like we kind of interviewed you for a similar-ish position.
Yeah,
a year ago.
Developer focused.
Less developer focused, but I guess with the same idea of like being more present in communities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And eventually we hired Katarina for that job, but like it's been coming. Let's face it. Like it's not.
And also, this is weird. Not weird, but I think like 10 years ago, I think it was, we had like a university reunion. Or could it be 10 years? Like Lillian is 8. Was it before or after she was born? I'm not sure. Anyway, but like we had a reunion with my university class, and you had to write something about yourself without saying your name, and then people were going to guess like, who you are. And one of the things were like, in 5 years or in 10 years, I can't remember. I was like, I'll be a developer advocate. And now I am. and like what was I doing with all these other things? But also, I think, ultimately, I think I'll be better at this type of a job. And I also think I'll be better at like protecting what I want to do and who I want to kind of show up with as a developer relations, developer advocate, developer evangelist. I don't even know what to call myself. Yeah, because I've done so many experience. I know what I like and what I don't like, what will make me burn out, what will not make me burn out. Like I feel like I will be better at this type of a job now than I would have been if I'd just gone straight for it at that point.
For sure.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's insane. So now I have the Outseta job, which is 2 days a week. But kind of, it doesn't have to be 2 days. It can be like squeezed around. I got the bank job, which is 2 days a week, where I like really need to code something and deliver something before the summer, because otherwise I will be embarrassed. And then we are doing a podcast for Outseta and also videos for Outseta, which is basically a 2 day a week job.
Okay, you've got 1 day left.
Yeah, and then we are doing a road mapping project for Cloud and Ares Gatsby plugins. So yeah, that's
Nice.
7 days a week.
That's 7 days a week. You need a plan on how to go on. I mean, this is fine for a couple of weeks, but this does not sound like a sustainable strategy.
Nope. So the thing is, I have had, even though maybe on the show, like it seems like I had a lot of things going on last year, but I didn't really, I did create quite a lot of noise on social media, but I didn't really have any larger, well, we had Cloud and Ares, but we didn't have like a full-time income generating stressful projects. So I feel like I can do like 2 months of a little bit of craziness if I take care of myself. But that's about it. And then it's summer, and I usually take it pretty slow during summer. So I think I'll be fine, but I'll have to be mindful of actually doing like my exercise and my yoga and going dancing and all those things, so that I don't end up in like another mini panic attack.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're joking, but it's serious. I mean, being spread too thin across too many projects is a problem. And
Absolutely.
I mean, at least you're aware and like you're seeing it and you're being mindful about it, but be careful about not getting sucked into more work on top of what you're already doing.
Absolutely. So also in April, because I've already started without setup, but in April, I'm only doing 1 day a week. And I also think like if these other projects aren't wrapping up as they're supposed to, I can do 1 day a week in May as well. So like, I'm able to manage that a little bit. So yeah, because I did create this video for Outseta, and it's really good, but it took a lot of time. And it didn't just take a lot of time, it just took so much out of me. This was why I was frazzled that 2 weeks before Easter or something, because like I was procrastinating on it because I hadn't found the angle, like like you're saying about the coding, like it's not like I was like trying to like make it, but like I didn't want to make it because it wouldn't be a good one. And then it finally dawned. Yeah, and then it took a lot longer because it's more edited, it's faster. There's like more things happening on screen. It's not just like, look at me code for 16 minutes. It's like it's a edited 4-minute video instead.
Remind me again, what was that video about? I'm sure you told me in the past, but I'm totally blanking on it right now.
Yeah, so it's a video about the 3 ways you can do search with Outseta. So that would be partial matching, like like you would regularly would do with a database. And then it's their fuzzy search option. Because they take the Postgres database data and put it into Elasticsearch for you, and then you can use Elasticsearch features without knowing that it's Elasticsearch. And then there's the third option, which just came out, which is semantic search, which is really interesting, where you use OpenAI embeddings, which I've now learned is like a vector representation of knowledge. And I can't even visualize it, but it's like, it's a vector of the knowledge in the like knowledge space, which is just mind-blowing. Anyway. And then to be able to search with these vectors, you need something called vector search, which is a separate algorithm, which they now provide. So it's an introduction to those three, and then we'll be following up maybe with one on fuzzy search and one on semantic search that will be more in depth on how you do those two. But I wanted to do the partial match just to kind of lay up to those other two, for the folks who haven't been around for 10, 15 years, where it's like this is what we used to have, and like this is what you get, and it's pretty cool. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So but hopefully I gotta like and then I made another video for my own channel using kind of the same style, which was only like a minute. So my plan is to kind of hone in a little bit on that style. So either do live streams, which are just like code with me for like, so slow, but that style, when it's live, and then the other style will be a much more edited type of video, both for Outseta and then, when I don't have 4 jobs for my own channel as well.
Makes sense. So what does the future look like for you with regards to like your future jobs and like your time?
I guess I'm a fractional developer advocate.
You're a fractional developer advocate for hire. Okay.
Yeah. Or something like that. And content creator.
Like let me rephrase that. You've got 4 jobs right now. We just established a few minutes ago that you can't do them all.
Yeah.
How will you decide which one to drop?
So I'm thinking that I'll do the project that I'm handed at the bank, like when it's in production, I'll probably quit that engagement, like get it to production and then quit that engagement. And then with Cloudinary, that's a project, so it's done by the summer. So I'm imagining after summer it will be kind of that Outseta job and then my own content creation, and then I'll have time for kind of one other either project based or more kind of fractional position for DevRel type stuff.
Interesting.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Do you feel like you'll run into problems with your personality, like your online personality being tied to too many things?
Yes. But that's always been the problem.
Oh, well, God, I guess that's kind of true. But I'm wondering, like,
but then also yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Will it be a problem for you, like your personal brand as well as the brands you will be representing?
I think it will be mostly problematic for my personal brand, where it's like I do a lot of things, but I think for since I am not, both Outseta and Outseta are not coming to me for my reach. I think, like I don't have like 14,000 followers on Twitter. One of the competitors just hired another hired a DevRel person who has like 14, 15, I don't know how many people in their following. And I think what you're trying to hire is their following, right? So then it would be super weird if that person then is like, doing a lot of things. But and also for Outseta, like what we've done is that we've sold things for their platform. So it's on their platform. They kind of have own that content. And then whatever I do with that content on my personal platforms is a bonus. It's not what we've sold. But I do realize that on my personal site right now, I need disclaimers. Like I need to add disclaimers.
I am also hired by.
Yeah, but not even just that. Like I realized, like when I write about, because I have written about Userlist, at this point, there needs to be a notice that we are co-hosts. And obviously I'm partial to you and your product. And then, with Outseta, yes, I'm working there, and I will also be owning or earning an ownership stake in that company. And then Outseta is a client and Cloudinary is a client. But no matter what I did, like if I only kept to the Gatsby project, I would still have to add these disclaimers because, I'd be making plugins for companies getting paid, not just out of my pure open source interests. And people need to know, that you're getting paid. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's next on my website work.
Wow.
But
I
yeah,
mean, overall,
it's definitely, but like I think people who follow me by now are like used to me being all over the place, and that's like part of the fun, which will then not, I don't think will give me like a huge following, but it will be more people who are interested in me and my family and like how we go about living our lives, and then you know, and also just like how do you do projects and side projects. I'm thinking kind of like Queen Raae will be more and more about like side projects and integrations between tools, and that's a lot what we've been doing since I've been focusing on Gatsby plugins. That's all integration. So I guess my personal brand is like integration and projects, or like duct taping together side project, or what I'm saying these days, jamming together side project, so that I nudge towards the Jamstack kind of community. But who knows? And I don't think that side of me is gonna go away. Like I'm never gonna be. I'm never gonna be that one person, like that person with like one personality. It's just not happening. I've tried.
Nice.
Yeah, but for the people watching this, I'm now wearing my slow and steady dress, and then I have my queen dress, and then I got my queen crown, and then I got my like dress, and then for the Outseta content, I'm wearing the Outseta t-shirt, and then I guess for Outseta, I'll be wearing my Outseta t-shirt, and I'll be getting Outseta earrings made. So, just
nice.
Mm-hmm.
How do you work with the headphones on though?
Well, for like, for them, it will be mostly edited videos, I guess, if I'm going to make videos. Okay. So then you can see my. Well, maybe I'll do necklace then. I don't know. I don't think people notice, but I notice. It's like a little bit to just like get me in the right frame of mind.
Yeah, it's just like put the hat on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an Outseta hat.
Well, maybe. Well, I don't know. You're not anyway, I'm not a hat person. Look at my hair. Like I'm not for the people listening, like I have very messy, long, curly hair. So hats are not kind of my thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. But what's up with you? We talked a lot about me, but this was a big announcement, and it's not official until this podcast goes out. So for the people watching live, you're like, shh.
Don't tell anyone. Right now, it doesn't look like anyone's watching. But anyways,
well, on Twitter, people are watching.
Right, and that doesn't show up in the accounts. Well, whatever. Congratulations on the new job, and I'm excited to see how this plays out for you. Keep us posted, and yeah, good luck with everything. So on my side, last week has been super weird and stressful. We had a family a family situation that required most of my attention in the week before Easter, and that caused us for one to skip like the recording of this, but it also meant that I didn't get anything done last week. But yeah, that's over. Things have been dealt with. Well, that sounds kind of horrible, but anyways, this is a thing of the past. Basically, scrapping.
It's a thing of the past, and I gave you a gold star for impromptu and very well accomplished adulting last week.
Thanks, thanks again for that. Anyways, that hectic week is over. We had a good Easter vacation break, sort of type of thing. And now I'm back to work and basically picking up the work that got neglected last week. So it's still a little bit, still will take a few more days for me to be like back in productive mode, but getting there. Anyways, because we skipped last week, and there's not really anything to tell about last week. The week before that was pretty good though. We finally rolled out the backend side of things for the new reporting implementation. And I'm happy to report that nothing broke, and it's working, and it's reasonably fast. And we also figured out how to make it super fast. We just haven't implemented yet, but so overall, it's a success, I guess. It's doing what we set out for it to do, and it's well within the performance constraints that we wanted it to land within. So I'm super happy about this. We already started launching it or rolling it out to a couple of beta customers, and feedback has been mostly positive. Sure, a couple of people mentioned, hey, there's analytics for this missing, analytics for that missing, and we're like, yeah, sure, we know. Like, this is like step one. Please bear with us.
You're not getting it all at the first.
But part of this, or like the majority of this project, was getting the building blocks in place, so we are able to roll out more things in the future. And I guess that's what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. I hope, unless something else grabs our attention and we focus on something else for a while. But anyways, the big challenges, engineering challenges, are done, and we know how to do more things like this in the future. So that was the main goal of this project, and I'm glad we managed to do this. Yeah, the other thing that's annoying me recently, or like introducing some uncertainty and anxiety into my life, is there's a new law, and if you're a new law in the US, and if you've been listening to other podcasts like this, you might have heard about this, but essentially it's related to Section 174. And honestly, I haven't read it in detail so far, but my understanding of the situation is the following. Up until recently, any expenses on software development, like basically paying employees or contractors, were just expenses. So in your accounting, you just deduct them from your revenue. And if something's left over, then that's your profit. And if nothing's left over, then that's your loss. And if you go to profit, then you're taxed based on the profit. And so far, so good. But what the changes basically resulted in is that for 2022, that's no longer the case with regards to software development. So all expenses related to, well, officially, I think it's research and development or something. But everything related to that has to be spread out over 5 years. So instead of doing that calculation once, or like doing that profit calculation in the year that expenses occur, you're supposed to spread them out over 5 years. If those are related to national, so in the US expenses. If those are like you're paying a contractor overseas, anywhere else but the US, it's even worse. It needs to be spread out over 15 years. And
what? I hadn't caught that part. Because this will be the case with me at, well, maybe they can just say that my work at Outseta is not as a developer, but I will be doing some development as well, right?
Yeah, and that's where this stuff gets super crazy. Like, I mean, long story short, what this means essentially is that where software development companies, or like software companies in general, had a certain amount of profit, or maybe no profit, this will be like a lot more now, because all those expenses are not deducted from your profits anymore, or from your revenue anymore, at least not immediately, but spread out. So it's a lot less expenses than what you're used to, and therefore your profit is going to be higher, and you're going to be paying more taxes.
And sometimes that profit will not actually be there. Like the money won't be there, because if you made $1 million and you paid people $1 million in salaries, you have zero money in the bank.
Exactly.
But you then have a profit of then,
I don't know, $500,000 or whatever.
Yeah, like I mean like 4/5 then, if they're Americans, the people you've paid. You then have 4/5 of that is then suddenly profit, because you're not allowed to deduct the full salaries.
Exactly. And suddenly you're supposed to pay it, like the math in your bank account might not work. Like look like you made a profit, but in accounting terms, you made a profit, and therefore you have to pay taxes.
This is why accounting is always messed with my mind, because those things just like I can't wrap my head around them. But I've learned, and I understand what you're saying, and it's insane.
It is kind of insane. And so, I mean, long story short, Michele Hansen of Geocodio started an initiative basically organizing small software businesses into an alliance. It's ssballiance.org. And they drafted an open letter to people in the Congress, I guess. That's where like my knowledge about like details of lawmaking in the US start to break down. But anyways, there's an open letter that you can sign if you are a US citizen that runs a small software business in the US. And I encourage you to do that. Because this is honestly, it's a mess. It puts a lot of small software companies in a really shitty situation. And frankly, it also puts a lot of large businesses into a shitty situation, but they at least have enough money in the bank or something like that.
I mean, I feel
to
like
be
these are
able to foot those.
one of these things that is actually will be helpful for the larger organizations because it will kill off their competition. In essence,
yes, kind of.
So even though it's a little shitty,
probably...
but then like if you think about it a little bit bigger, like this is good because it means it's going to be harder to survive as a small software shop.
Yeah, I mean, and then if you want to be like super cliched, then the large companies already know how to avoid taxes. Like they will figure out a way. But the small companies like us, it can potentially kill a lot of them. I did the math for Userlist, and we're kind of lucky that we didn't make enough. Like our expenses were so high that even if we do calculate the profits that way, we're still not making a profit. But still, I mean.
But so this is also a case for like where then the VC way of doing things will be beneficial, because then you're not making a profit. You're just running up losses, and then you're taking that hit into the future. While bootstrapped or self-funded or whatever you want to call it, companies will be the ones that are more hit, because the founder's time, like if they then maybe with the founder it would be different if they don't take a salary. I don't know how this works in the US, but if there's like another software developer at least, or like they contract out some things, all of that will then be expenses spread out over 5 years or 15 years if it's overseas. And so I mean, it's like I feel like some VCs have been doing, they're like scared of people not going the VC way, so they've been like lobbying. So for people who listen to this show for a while, I just wanted to note that they're now doing road work while they haven't done road work since the last time we recorded. So I'll stop interrupting you and just turn off my mic.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not a lot to add, but essentially go to that website, ssballiance.org. Let me double check that that's actually the thing. Yes, SSB Alliance, so Small Software Business Alliance. And if you're a US citizen, please sign that letter. I think it's going to be sent in the next couple of days, but the more signatures, the better. Unfortunately, if you're a US business but not a US citizen, you're not allowed to sign this. So therefore, the only thing I can do is just tell everyone about this, because I'm not allowed to sign this myself. Even though it affects Userlist as a company and potentially affects us in the future. But yeah, this needs to change, or at least be softened a little bit, or I don't know. Otherwise, it will be a huge problem. And I don't know. Please rally around us.
If you can hear this over my craziness that's happening here now, and my mother just like walking in here, I'm like trying to. This is not. There's two people blowing stuff, and another machine.
It's not too. Like, at least on my side, it's not too bad.
So I got my settings right then, because this used to be a problem. Anyway, I think Michele Hansen said that everybody was expecting it not to pass or something. Like it was supposed to a little footnote it was supposed to be like not a part of this bill, and then it ended up being a part of the bill. So most of the tax people or accountants in the US have kind of just skipped on reading up on it because it wasn't supposed to pass, or which sounds a little weird. But so it's like taking everyone's by surprise kind of after the fact, and like when people are starting to file their taxes, not like when it was happening.
It probably shouldn't have been a law in the first place, but I guess the assumption was that it's going to be rolled back. But for whatever reason, that didn't happen. And there's now a petition, or like, what's the correct word? Like, a new law was introduced that's aiming at rolling this back, even retroactively. So it would still apply for 2022. But now it's a matter of like moving that forward and getting that voted on sometime this year, as soon as possible. What we did for Userlist, like, we filed for an extension. So we didn't send in our tax returns this month. We will be waiting until October with the hopes that it will be rolled back. But what I learned is this approach only kind of works for us because we wouldn't be making a profit in 2022 and therefore wouldn't be liable to pay any taxes. Because if you are, then filing for an extension does not remove your obligation to pay those taxes already. So if you made a profit in 2022, you're supposed to pay those taxes now, even though you haven't sent in your returns yet. So, which makes this even worse for other companies.
Yeah. And when it comes to government, and what I've learned with business or having companies is that you pay them, and then you'll have to fight the government, because if you don't pay, like, they have all the power. So you need to find a way to pay, and then do the
and then
work,
need to find a way to get it back.
And then find a way to get it back. Or, like in this case, if you get an extension, you have to pay what they assume that you've made in profit. And then when you do your statements or actually send it in after the, for the extension, that's when you get the money back. And that's what I've learned for like VAT and like all kinds of things. Like if there's something that is uncertain, you send it in and you like pay more than you should, and then you can send in a correction and you can get some money back. If you do it the other way around, that's when they come auditing, or like they haven't audited me yet, but like that's when you start getting into problems. And then this is not related to the US thing, but then my other tip for people accounting wise, at least here in Norway, is that, and then call them. Like if you for some reason cannot pay, call them, because that's when you can get. I actually got a payment extension on a VAT bill once because I called them and I was like, "What? This money isn't coming until next month," because in Norway you pay the VAT for the date you file or the date you invoice, not the date you're getting the money.
Yes.
So you often don't have the money when the VAT bill has to be paid, which is fine when you're like making money every month. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like I could borrow money. Like it, wouldn't have been a long-term loan. And I was like, I'll call them. And I called and she was like, oh, we'll just put it on next term, which is like 3 months down the road. And I was asking for like a 2-week extension, but she's like, oh, we'll just put it on the next term. And I was like, what? And if I had chatted with them or like emailed them, I don't think that would have happened. And if I hadn't had like a very clean record up to that date, I don't think it would have happened. But then calling them, they were like, fine, you'll get an extension, no problem. Yeah. So when it comes to government, pay your bills and or call them and talk to a person.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I had a similar experience like this in Germany, where they are surprisingly responsive to direct communication of some sort. Like, surprisingly, there are also humans on the other side of this, and you can talk to them about stuff. It doesn't always feel like that when you file stuff or like fill out the forms, but in the end, there's a lot of times there's a human involved that responds to reasoning.
And they're often respond to an older way of doing things than we are used to, because
Yes.
government and even like banking and stuff like haven't kind of caught up to, the internet people's preferred mode of communication, which is never the phone. And so it helps to like meet them at their preferred communication style if you want something from them.
Yes, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Well,
but anyway, go sign it.
Yes, please sign and please support us. And if you were for some reason not allowed to sign it, similar to me, then at least spread the word, tell your friends, and have them sign it if it applies to them. Because
can you sign if you're just an American citizen who doesn't have a company? Like if you're just pissed?
I'm not entirely sure. Probably not, because it is supposed to be like small software businesses specifically. Because what Michele said was like small software businesses are like puppies, like everyone loves them. Whereas like large software businesses, it's more like, I don't know, hyenas or whatever that everyone hates.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if like Bezos suddenly signed it, like people wouldn't be as.
People would be like, yeah, well, whatever.
You can take your billions and go somewhere else with them.
Yeah, so that doesn't work. Yeah. So if you're a small software business in the US and the US citizen, please sign. And if not, please share. So yeah, that will be helpful. And then let's all keep our fingers crossed that there will be a solution to this. If not, we'll have to figure something out, but let's get to that when we get to it. So anyways, that's it.
Saving that cash, people.
Yes, that's a good plan.
Well, I guess that's it.
Yeah. Well, have a nice week and talk to you next week. Bye.